Welcome back to our tiny podcast recording studio where we are shooting stream live from Universe 2023, right here from the Yerba Buena Center in San Francisco, California. This morning we saw an amazing keynote.
It was amazing.
There's been tons of fun announcements. We're not done yet. We're barely halfway through the day and there is still a lot to come. Some of the exciting things that we're getting to hear is actually getting to meet our customers, our partners, users, and have this kind of conversations. So I am super lucky and fortunate to have with me today Evan Scheessele from HP. Evan, welcome.
Hey, thank you, Andrea. Yeah, great to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. And you're coming from Oregon, is that
That's
correct?
right. I've my whole career at HP, the last 23 years have been up in Corvallis, Oregon, a tiny town in Oregon, but HP has a huge manufacturing and R&D site there, and pretty much grew up in my tech career there in a small town in Oregon. But great to be down on a perfect day in San Francisco.
It doesn't happen like this. This is pretty miraculous.
Yeah,
So-
make a note. It happened. It's great weather.
Exactly. Let's talk a little bit about you and your background.
Yeah.
You've been at HP for a hot second. For all of you who are watching, and it is incredible to think of a lifetime of a career at a company. Obviously, folks at HP are doing something right because you're still there. Happy to be there. I'd love to know how you get started. What happened? Was this one of your first roles in tech, or how did you arrive to work for HP? And for folks who are joining us just now, when I failed to introduce Evan properly, Evan is the architecture manager for API and developer experience at HP.
Yeah, so a little bit about me and then
Yes,
a little bit
please.
more about our developer community at HP. First, HP Inc. is part of what separated, used to be Hewlett-Packard Corporation.
Okay.
About 8 years ago, I think, we separated from Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, and HP Inc. is that large enterprise company that makes lots of PCs and workstations, and then lots and lots of printers, from handheld printers to office jet printers, laser jet printers, and then industrial printers the size of a barn, and 3D printers that can print in plastics and metal, very deep into industrial additive manufacturing.
Very cool.
And as a real heart, the company is 80-year history, born here in Silicon Valley in innovation, engineering, consumer, commercial, enterprise products. We are not really fixed in one technology, although a lot of people think about printers and PCs. Or just a side note for anybody who didn't know, but the garage, like the idea of a startup in a garage, started with our founders, Bill and Dave, at Addison Avenue here in Palo Alto, is
No
the
way.
original garage that was the origin of Silicon Valley. So like the first tech startup.
Oh my gosh, 80 years ago, out of a garage.
Right here.
Right
Yep.
here.
And that's our legacy. So as a company, we're sincerely interested in invention, innovation, a lot of hardware background, but emerging and more important to our transformation to be a kind of a modern tech company is a huge software side to it too.
Mm-hmm.
My background is actually electrical engineering in college, but my whole career has been software. Around software, I've written way less code than I have any right to be involved in software for, but the continuity for me has been networking and information security, actually.
Interesting.
But networking led to work with APIs, really getting focused on our API strategy as a company. And APIs are effectively a currency for developers. APIs are a relationship between a service provider or a company like us and the people who write applications that consume those APIs. And so by virtue of going deep into APIs and networking and security, I basically turned into a developer experience advocate at HP. And that turned into a developer community leader for our company, which with the rise of generative AI has turned into this amazing focus on developer technology and investment in our developer community with generative AI, which brings me here because the nexus of developer experience and generative AI is GitHub Copilot. It's a big story. So,
Yes. So you started and you become like your own DevRel, but also embracing digital transformation
that's
and
right.
bringing light to all these tools to enhance the developer experience internally.
That's right.
Could you share how many developers roughly
Oh,
do
right.
you work
Yeah,
with?
roughly. Work with is an interesting question. As a legacy technology company with a lot of hardware background, our developer community is very dispersed. It's probably not a surprise to any large enterprise company that has been around a while. We have different divisions, many different hardware R&D groups. A lot of those have attached software teams, And we also have large software organizations. So it's a hybrid of hybrids. In aggregate, we have easily over 10,000 people who touch code.
Wow.
Easily.
Wow.
Exactly how many write software regularly is often hard to determine. But again, one reason that we're here and I'm enjoying the announcements is GitHub as a company, as a product portfolio, gives enterprises a way to better understand your users and support them, not as individuals, which is where a lot of this has come from, but now as communities or as scrum teams and as organizations that create software together. So we're learning, we're continuing to learn, and your product features are certainly helping us as we figure it all out, how to engage the community as a whole. And whether that's 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever, I think that's one of our missions, is to activate the community's collective capability and not just look at them as 10,000 individuals, but as the HP developer community.
Your force, your brain force of developers. I love this. And I think this is the new wave of how organizations are thinking about their developer communities.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it's proven to be very fruitful because it helps you not only product adoption, set your best practices internally, but have that culture of this is a digitally innovative company. And when we work in a collective and when we work like putting all our brains together, with of course guidance of people like you who've been there, done that, I love to know. I have to take it way back 20 years ago. When you first started, how was the developer experience at HP? Love if you can take us through a little history lesson of like how things were, how they're now. And then we can talk a little bit about your hopes and aspirations for the age of AI and all the amazing things that are hoping to improve developer experiences, not only at HP, but the world.
Yeah, absolutely. First, going back, HP, you used the word culture, right? The tech culture or the enterprise kind of culture. HP is in a great place with a many decades old engineering culture of collaboration and taking risks, inventing, being up for the challenge of creating new solutions through technology. And that DNA is deeply rooted in the company.
Perfect.
And that's part of what is, again, like pursuing the idea of having a developer community is a reflection of that older, it's called the HP way, this enterprise mindset of engineering solutions together and doing good work. But really, software has been a later development in that sense of a community embrace of collaboration. So HP's always had software, right? As long as we've had computing and technology, there's always been software components into that total solution, but it's been very siloed and not as collaborative as it could be. So there've always been great software teams at HP, but as a software company, we haven't really emerged with that as in parity with our hardware prowess. So 20 years ago, I got to work with great software, people who invented some very fundamental parts of the internet and of desktop computing. HP has a lot of fascinating legacy. We had our own operating system that was rather prominent for decades. But what's happened over the last 20 years is as the entire tech community has evolved, HP has reckoned with that hybrid challenge of being hardware and software. Learning as a business, we need to not sell just hardware transactionally, but software and services, and building a deeper digital relationship with our customers means embracing software in a much more strategic manner. And that in the last 5 to 10 years has been just a wonderful moment to witness, having been there long enough to see what it was like before. We are now investing strategically as a company in software practices, software culture, software tooling and patterns. And that's where I'm just, again, super fortunate to have my career in this moment, being part of a company that helped create Silicon Valley, make the pivot into first order strategic software. And again, my passion of it is with the people, because the tech is great. AI is really great, but ultimately the work is done by people, right?
Absolutely.
The company is comprised of that large community of developers and other engineers and everybody else. And connecting the story between the emerging technology, whether it's generative AI or AI ML of 10 years ago, and the work we have in front of us and the market and business challenges that we have in front of us, taking that bridge from the tech to the work, the people learning and growing and having that growth mindset we talk about a lot, so that we can always be on the leading edge, inventing and being relevant and successful in the market. So that takes us then to the current tech story, right? The story that I'm helping navigate into use by our community is this AI space. And it is just, as everybody must feel it, it's just mind-blowing how fast it's evolving.
Yes.
We have been engaged with Copilot, GitHub Copilot, at some level for almost a year now. And its evolution in the last 8 months is unlike anything that we see in tech, in enterprise software vendor relationships. It's impressive. And this morning's announcements are like on beat with how fast things are happening. I shouldn't be surprised. The underlying tech is emerging and the applications really are there, right? It's not speculative, this might be interesting. It's immediately interesting. And I feel like I'm just strapped in for a wild ride, but seeing great opportunities for companies like ours to be more productive, fundamentally just be more efficient and productive as a whole. But also the experience is still an individual's experience. Copilot is still a moment while writing code, being more connected to what you're doing, more efficient with your time, in flow more often.
Right.
But in aggregate, when you might have 5,000 or 10,000 developers who are writing code collectively, you can feel that capacity being unlocked for a company like ours. And that's a huge deal because we can do more. We can get into the market sooner with a good competitive enterprise offering. So we're seeing it as a benefit to our core goals, right? To create the technology that matters to everybody and lets people create content like printers, and just computing lets you do anything. But ultimately, it's about that benefit to our overall productivity and maybe a little bit more on the culture side, genuinely just a better experience being a developer,
100%.
right? Satisfaction, like the S on the space framework, is your work satisfying? And I think the AI tech that we're putting into the hands of our people are showing those signs of, this is fun. This is making my work a little bit more interesting, and people are pretty happy about it.
I absolutely appreciate the comments about the innovation for sake of innovation, what you mentioned. Yeah, it's not just about the tech is here, it's here to stay, and the rate of adoption of things like generative AI and the ways that it's unlocking the creativity and productivity of developers. I see it only as a 10x. It's gonna continue to grow and multiply and just continue to do amazing things for developers everywhere. And I love to see companies like HP embrace that shift into what is a new era of innovation.
Yeah.
And for me personally, very biasly, I think your job should be fun. And putting fun tools in the hands of developers that make things that are ultimately, listen, if you're someone who deeply enjoys just writing regex or like repetitive things in a lot of ways, that's amazing. And if that's what makes you happy, wonderful, you have the option to do that. But if you, like me, can't figure out how to do a markdown table without screaming a couple of times, let me tell you, tools like GitHub Copilot are a lifesaver, right? Like it makes your job for things that would otherwise be mundane and really not require that analytical thinking and the things that make coding fun, just take care of themselves, which is awesome.
Yeah. And again, it's why it's an interesting moment. I think I'm still trying to package this up, and some historian will write the perfect book about this in 30 years.
Please,
maybe.
someone out there do it.
But this
quote
moment,
Evan.
maybe not. But this moment is, as you said, it's elevating you away from the syntax of a markdown table into what am I trying to communicate. The more fulfilling part of the work is that satisfaction that I delivered value or I created something that somebody else needed. Not I mastered markdown syntax. It's not as satisfying as that more fulfilling I created something that matters to somebody. And I think collectively our tech community, our developers are seeing this moment is one of those major milestones in the history of computer science and software engineering. It's great to hear him say it on stage this morning, your CEO, about it's about the same as moving away from punch cards. Like I've used the same analogy. It's
perfect. It's a perfect one. It really is.
We're still writing software, but you're writing it in a much more effective and enjoyable way.
Yeah.
And it's unlocked now, hard to see, but a future that certainly new developments are going to come from here, right? Like we already feel the benefit in the short term, but I'm confident there will be second and third order benefits unlocked now that we have access to these large language models and then applied in the context of a service. It's a powerful new story for software engineers.
Absolutely. We live in super exciting times, and I can't wait to see what innovation comes from here. As a consumer, I'm a customer.
Yeah, of course.
I'm a customer, and I know that there is a lot of things that you can do with software to make an experience like having a printer legitimately more enjoyable.
Sure.
I give testimony. And one of my favorite things I have an HP Tango is that I don't have to think about ink, because automatically there's a sensor.
Tango's a great printer. Yeah.
I am subscribed to it, and every month I get my little, if I'm gold, whatever, they'll send it to me. It already knows. I guess this is probably what the consumption of APIs is important for. I was wondering, like, where are you using APIs?
I know way too much, more than you could imagine, about the intersection of the APIs that make that instant ink experience that you have, and the software behind that. And of course, behind any API is the software, the service that makes that functionality, that business logic work. And I happen to know precisely the language and the IDEs and the developer experience of the team behind those APIs. They're committed, of course, to creating a great experience for you, right? The experience of you can create printed content whenever you want without any friction. But again, technology of making that a frictionless, almost intuitive, boring experience is a lot of API work. And API R&D, by the way, also benefits from generative AI. The same tools that you use for writing like Python or Java can be applied to writing a good definition of an API.
That's true.
We're learning that as a company. But all together, right, all that tech, those engineers are committed to creating that experience so that you can say, that's valuable. It just works. I can print whenever I want to.
Exactly.
We kind of embrace that idea. That's why we're engineers. We want to create those great experiences for you. And thanks for the
listen, there is one less thing I have to worry about, that I always know there is like a safe consistency in my house. I have two small kids too that need to print out a lot of stuff for school. So I never have to worry about it, and I love it. And now, not only for the experience and the creativity and all these amazing things you're doing for your users like me, like my experience is wonderful. But then also, if I'm an engineer that wants to come and work for HP, I can expect that I'm working with the best possible tools, and that I'm working for a company that's driving innovation in this new era. And I love that. Tell me a little bit about what it's like to be an engineer working at HP now.
That's a great question. COVID changed everything, but I think HP's culture of collaboration, like really deep sense of consensus building, testing assumptions, discussion, and finding a robust collaborative consensus. It's been great. Since COVID, a lot of getting back into the office and a lot of new software-derived business work ahead of us. I mentioned we came from a hardware background, and so much engineering is built around kind of hardware product lines.
Yes.
But that shift has happened, and like recently we acquired Polycom, also the company that acquired Plantronics. Like those engineers coming into HP, and the sense of, again, how to build a services business. Instant Ink is a service relationship, a digital relationship with customers. Poly and other divisions of HP have brought an accelerated sense of those services, businesses, and the software that sits behind making those relationships work. That is a huge part of our future. The nature at HP today, especially if you come in as a software engineer, which is maybe relevant to your GitHub community, coming in is coming into a company with a lot of history and a lot of well-seated, healthy culture, but with a real spark of reinventing itself with an eye toward software. So you're coming into something which has history and like well-established fundamentals, even like ethics built into the company, but where software is fresh. Coming in, you can have a real influence over and a really dynamic career in software at HP because we are having our invention or reinvention period right now with software, where it's, as I mentioned before, we're coming together more as a community than in 100 silos. So it's a great dynamic time if anybody wants to come. jobs@hp.com.
Exactly. Listen, I think you'll be in for a great experience. Definitely, you're already using the best tools. You're definitely, I love this period of reinvention, and What a time to be alive.
Right.
Honestly, this is fun times. Evan, what are you looking forward towards the rest of your time here in San Francisco and at Universe?
I'm here to learn about everything.
Awesome.
We have a lot of source code and a community and empowering our software organizations strategy is going to be based a lot in our source code. So understanding enterprise scale, software lifecycle, and software source code management, I'm here to just go deep and learn everything that's modern and coming out of GitHub. And then layer on top of that the AI story, since it's flavoring everything. It's clearly GitHub is Copilot led in the moment, right?
I like that.
And that Copilot narrative of AI agency layered on top of fundamentals of software engineering, I'm picking up on those threads and then mapping them against your business, your portfolio of advanced security, Copilot, just GitHub Enterprise for source code management. Code spaces, interesting. So I'm in learning mode, right? I'm here to just soak it up, make sure I get the story right, and then help interpret that at HP. And just meet people.
So, Evan, thank you so much for your time
you.
today. It's been lovely to chat with you. If you want to follow Evan online, I will post links to socials,
LinkedIn and Twitter.
LinkedIn.
It's been great talking with you.
Fantastic. That's all for now from the Tiny Podcast House in Universe 2023. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, Evan.
Thank you.
GitHub.